Hello to adult adoptees, and also hello to those of you that have been through the foster care system because we share a lot of experiences in common. I am here today to talk about the Georgia couple that got sentenced to 100 years in jail last week on the 19th of December 2024 for the sexual abuse of two children, two boys that they had abducted, adopted. I say abducted because from what I've read, these two children were removed from their mother or parents because they had drug addiction. And one of the things that's been spoken about in the adoption community is the reasons for why children are placed with different families and not left to stay with their biological family. And a lot of the times it's because of financial problems. And as in this case, it's because of apparently drug addiction. And the reality is that those should not be reasons for children to be taken away from their biological family. Society should have better options in place, better support systems in place to help those people to be able to stay with their biological family. Anyway, what I really wanted to talk about today is the fact that there are a lot of people focusing on the wrong issue. For example, I saw a video where the poster focused heavily on the wealth material status of this homosexual couple, their job status, their facade, their mask that they wear, and those are not the important things for us to focus on as it relates to this um, horrible, horrible, nightmarish situation. So, as far as their sexual orientation, I'll tackle that first. The reality is that their sexual orientation does not matter. The truth is, paper parents, which is referring to supposedly adoptive parents, they are paper parents because um, abductors, because they do not deserve the word parent to be associated with them. Um, whether these people are homosexual, straight, heterosexual, or single, they are all capable of committing sexual assault towards the vulnerable children that are placed to be in their care. I know from experience because I am a part of the adoption community. There are plenty of children that get sexually abused by their mothers, get sexually abused by their fathers, whether it's the two of them as a gang or separately And also, you will find that there are single parents that sexually abuse their kids. So, focusing on the sexual orientation of these people is not important. The other thing that people talk about, I watched a video and the poster focused heavily on their wealth status. So, having money does not make you a good person. Actually, on the contrary, because I've met lots of people with money that are monsters, that are horrible people, that have no conscience, that have no empathy, no sympathy. And so that ties into what I was talking about in the beginning. Is society really making the right decisions by removing children from parents that love them, that don't have the financial means, and placing them with people with money, but they have no love or care for these children? So, the other thing that we are getting wrong is um, judging a book by its cover, looking at these masks that these supposedly adoptive parents, paper parents, wear, and taking it at face value. These people are performers. They are really good at changing their true character when they are in front of the teacher, when they are in front of the friends, when they're in front of their friends. By friends, the first time, I mean the friend of the adopted child. When they are with other people, their character, their demeanors change completely. But at home, what we adoptees deal with is a whole nother reality. It is completely different from what the world sees. And sometimes they make us seem crazy because people don't seem to care to hear about what our reality is. I know that there is a lot of censoring going on the internet because people don't want to know, people don't want to hear. And the adoption human trafficking industry is so powerful and so strong. They're working so hard to keep us down because it's an industry. They're making money out of it. They want to keep us adult adoptees quiet so that people don't know what's going on, so that the government doesn't ban adoption, so that society cannot prevent atrocities like this couple committed against these two children that needed help, that needed care, that needed love. They are working really hard. And I say, us adult adoptees need to work harder. I'm going to repeat that in all of my videos so that it gets into our heads. I know it's hard. We are all at different points in our journey of coming out of the fog, which is the fear, the obligation, and the guilt of all the experiences we've been through. We are all in different places, but we need to work hard towards the point of being able to share our experiences, to get our voices heard. We can do it. what more can we go through than what we've been through? It is insane. So, um, it's just this past week has been so taxing for me, so hard for me to see what's going on in the media, what's being reported of what's happening within the adoption community. So, it turns out that this couple was able to get these two children from a Christian adoption agency. This also people are overlooking and getting wrong because a lot of people are religious. And the moment you say God, the moment you say Jesus, people lose their mind. They let things that should not happen happen. So these institutions need to be brought to light, need to be, the connection need to be made between the Christian um, agencies, Christian organizations, Christian churches. They are a powerful force behind the adoption system. Truly, they are a huge force behind it. Why? Because they make money. The agency make money. They are the middlemen that process the paperwork to allow the placement of the child within those homes. Luckily, the agency that placed these children with these people, with these monsters, all God's Children's Inc., has been closed. But there are others out there, the ones that have not been caught because the children are not able to voice what they're going through. I said it in another video. This is a drop in the middle of an ocean. This story is one out of million of other children that are suffering without a voice, that nobody will ever hear about their stories. And I want you to know, as part of the adoption community, just because we were not heart family children, you know what I'm talking about, the heart family. And if you don't know, you can search it easily, HART, and all the dirt will come out. Just because we were not heart children, just because we are not Zula children, does not mean that we didn't go through difficulties, that we didn't have a hard time, that we didn't struggle. Adoption is not the delusion that these people make it out to be. It is a nightmare for those of us that are taken away from our families. And to think that this couple made videos of what they were doing to these children. They had pictures of what they were doing to these children that they were sharing with other people in a pedophile ring group of men that enjoy and get satisfaction from sexual abuse of children, and the judge gave them 100 years only, when the state of Georgia has the death penalty, is a slap on the hand for the monstrous, atrocious, evil things that they did. They got a plea. Because they pleaded guilty, they let them off easily. And the message that the government, society is sending to the world, to people, is we don't value abducted children's life. We don't care. You can do whatever you want to them, and you will not be punished. You will not be punished severely for it. It's not acceptable. It is not acceptable. We are tired. We are exhausted. We are devastated by the things that happen within our community. And the reality is that we know that the mass population don't care. They don't want to hear about our experiences, but it is being talked about within the adoption community. And so even if it doesn't happen to me, I am hearing about it. And it affects me. Even if what happened to me didn't happen to them, we are in communication in some shape or form. It gets around. It is insane that this society think that it is okay to continue this system that oppresses children, that destroys families, that tears families apart, and to think that the only reason why these people got caught is because they made videos and pictures of this abuse and shared it with someone. Somebody else saw it, and this is how the investigation started. The children never had the voice to go report and ask for help. I'm sure it's because they were afraid of what would happen to them. And they were children, very young children, and maybe they don't know what's appropriate and not appropriate. But to think that it's two men doing this to these two young children, it's not appropriate. I'm sure they knew it wasn't appropriate, and they just had no way out to be able to ask for help. It is horrible. It is disgusting. And with that, I want to talk about my last point, which is so important. Adult adoptees and the children that have been through the foster care system, we have a long way in getting society to listen to our issues, our problems, our experiences. But we must keep pushing. We must keep talking. We must keep sharing. The goal is to get this system to be banned, for adoption to be banned, and for there to be better, appropriate words to be used to describe this business It's a business because the middlemen, the people doing the papers, make money out of it. They don't want this system to end because this is how they support their lifestyle. But we need to keep pushing forward. We need to keep pushing forward. And while we are waiting for them to ban it, while we are waiting for society to say this is not acceptable anymore in this day and age, we need to push for reform. We need to push for reform. And this is another thing that's being overlooked in this story is oversight. Checking. It is insane that children are taken from their biological family and placed with strangers, and no one ever looks back. No one ever goes to check and see what happened to these children. Are they okay? Are they being treated well? Are they happy? Are they sick? It is insane. It makes absolutely no sense, especially considering the stories that have made it through the news. Not every story makes it through the news, but there are a lot of stories that have made it through the news where society should have gotten a clue and done better for the children going through this process, going through this industry, going through this monstrous system, but they are doing nothing. No child should be placed with complete strangers, whether they are a couple, whether they are homosexual, whether they are heterosexual, whether they are single, and for that child to never be checked on again. It is unacceptable. How can that be possible? Just imagine all the things that can go wrong. And for this industry, for the people making the money, just for the sake of not being confronted by karma, to not ensure that the future of these children are secure with care, love, and not abuse. They don't care. Once they make their money, they move on. I know firsthand, even if you have an issue, a problem, and try to backtrack and go to the middleman and report and say this happened, that happened, they are not there. And this is a good example to show you all God's children's Inc. no longer exists. You think these children can go and report to them and talk to them and say, these are the experiences I have and this happened, that happened? No, they don't exist anymore. They've made their money, they're gone. And so people are focusing on the fact that these were wealthy people. And I think that played a lot into the reason why they did not get the death penalty, which is what they deserve. They should have gotten the death penalty. And it's not something that should take years and years to carry out. It should have been immediate because they had proof. They themselves made proof of the monstrous atrocities that they were committing. And so, out of all of this, I think the most important thing that we need to be working on right now as a community, as adult adopted people, is to push for reform, to have better oversight, to have a system where there are social workers that check on children that are placed with people. It is unacceptable that the children are not checked on. I am a transracial international adoptee, and I have been in this country for 20 years. I have not had one person come to check to see what happened to me since I was placed with the people I was placed with. Not once. It's been 20 years. What are we doing? It is not right. It is not acceptable. And just think, for those of you that have not gone through the experience of being adopted, please join hand with us while we try to get reform for the children that are coming after us, for the children that are continuing to be placed with strangers. Please, please join hand with us to help us to get better reform and also to seek abolishment of adoption, because majority of the children that are placed for adoption, that are abducted and taken away from their parents, are not orphans. This system is being kept by the church, by the middlemen that are processing the papers, and also by light complexion, white Christian women that are infertile. And so, because there's the demand from them for the children, they create the supply. Try to understand that. They create the supply by convincing, forcing, coercing biological families into relinquishing and giving up their children for adoption. Sometimes there's no reason why they bring the children to centers, or they refer to them as orphanages. They are not orphanages because majority of the children have at least one parent that is alive. Apparently, there's a point zero something something 1% of children that are adopted in the US that are true orphans, where both mother and father are dead. And so you can imagine what the statistic is for children that are taken out of developing countries, and being brought to this country from internationally. You can imagine. They just falsify papers and make them paper orphans, even if both parents are alive. So we have work to do. That's the adult adoptees, as well as the people that support us, the people that understand, the people that want to join hand with us. Please help us to seek reform until we can get adoption to be abolished. I will see you in the next one. I can't go without saying, I hope that these children will heal, that they will find the resources that they need to move on from these evil things that happen to them. And I wish them the very best.